Simon Squibb, do you have a dream?
I do have a dream, yeah. I want to help people believe in themselves. I want to help the education system get updated so that people can follow their dreams and get the knowledge to do that. You know, financial literacy, get taught in schools, make sure that people know that anything is possible. They don't just have to get a job, they could create their own business, for example. So my dream is to help people dream.
Yeah, sorry, I had to start the interview like that.
Excuse me, do you guys have a dream? Excuse me, guys, do you have a dream? Excuse me, do you have a dream?
Yeah.
There must have been so many people who've started the interviews like that, so
no,
sorry about that.
Surprisingly, no, not
really?
like me, yeah.
Oh, well, I'm original. Right, let's go back to the beginning. Imagine all anyone knows about you is you're the guy on TikTok who stops people in the street and gives them money to follow the dream.
Excuse me, could I pay you $10,000 to quit your job? Would you quit your job?
Where did you get all that money from?
Well, I mean, I started my first business at 15 years old, and then I just put my head down, frankly, for 25 years and just worked and learned and grew. And then as I mentioned, I was able to sell my business and become financially free. So that around 40, I was financially free. And then I thought, that's it, I've made it. I don't need to work anymore. And so I kind of retired. I had a baby, well, my wife did, and I supervised. And then about 2 years into being a full-time father, I just felt like I had to give back and help people realise the things that I've learned that they could then have to make their life better. So I just started going on TikTok and giving people free business advice. I started doing YouTube videos, giving insights into what I'd learned on my journey, going from 15 years old, starting a business until 40 and selling it. And so, yeah, it seemed to be really popular because I wasn't selling a course. I was the first person on TikTok giving knowledge without being it behind a paywall. I just was giving it for free because I don't need to make money. I just wanted to give it and help. And I think that's what made my content so popular at the beginning. It's just because I've actually done it. I started a business with no money. I've managed to make it, and now I can give that knowledge to people without it being about me getting some sort of course fee out of people. So
how did it all start? Like where did that idea come from?
Well, I was saying to my wife that I could see a lot of people that were struggling, a lot of news stories about people losing their job and not sure what to do. And then I was playing around with TikTok because I love marketing, and I was just watching TikToks of people giving a business advice that wasn't true or was just a way of selling a course. So I just got a little bit frustrated listening to some of this advice. So I said to my wife, why are people on social media giving rubbish advice to people? They're doing it just to upsell a course. So my wife said, well, why don't you just start giving your knowledge? And I said, sure, I could do that. And then at the same time, it was Christmas. She bought me a microphone and said, start interviewing successful entrepreneurs and share how they did it and just put that knowledge out there. So that's what I did.
When I first seen one of your videos, someone showed me, I can't remember exactly who the person was that got stopped, but you gave him like 200 quid. I was like, that's fake. That's no way that's real. It's real, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's real in the sense that I don't know these people. I've never met them. I just walk out there in the world. I look for people with that certain energy, and yeah, I just give them money. I mean, £200 for me in that particular case was probably I'm trying to be their first customer. Because the reality is most people starting a business, they just need one person to believe in them. They just need one customer. So once they have that customer, then they can get a second customer and a third customer and a fourth customer. And of course, I can promote people on my platform too now, which is great. So I can give people exposure for their idea. But it's totally genuine. And again, for me, like I now have people coming up to me in the street. So sometimes now I might be asking people what their dream is once they've come up to me, so they know me now. But 3 years ago when I started this, it's all just random people in the street.
What's it like? What's the experience like of seeing someone, go from working their everyday job to you stopping them in the street, and a few years later, they're a successful entrepreneur?
I'm really proud of people that kind of lean into fear and take a chance. I mean, there's Macca twins, there's two kids, basically, when I first met them. There were 5 of them, a family living in one room in a house, and they were about to get evicted. And when I met them, they talked about how they wanted to start a cleaning business, which a lot of people don't think is very glamorous. And so I told them to make content around them cleaning things, and they turned it into this brilliant viral sensation. They have I'm James and I'm John, we clean places no one else wants to clean, and it blew up.
I'm James and I'm John, and we clean places nobody asks us to clean.
There was a house that we used to walk by every single day back in Portsmouth. It just clicked to us. I was like, why don't we go out there, clean it, put it on social media, and let's see what happens. We did the first one, then we did behind the alleyway. Then about a month later, we posted it, and then it went viral. We went from about 500 followers to around 8K in 5 days.
And now they've got a 5-bedroom house, not one room with 5 of them living in it, and they're making a living doing what they love, which is cleaning. and making content around it. So they've cleaned the British Airways plane, for example. So I just love seeing that transformation. You know, people having agency over their life, the ability to take control of their life and turn it into what they want to turn it into. They can make it real, their head idea, what's inside their brain, and make it real. So I get really excited when I see people able to take control with a few bit of knowledge and a little bit of support capital and a little bit of support marketing. They can make their dream a reality. And get out of the difficult situation they're in. And I think that's really important, to give that sense of agency to people, that they can make anything they want out of their lives.
You want to talk about the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill. What's your problem with it?
I'm not a politician, okay? So I'm just talking about, I've got a child who I homeschool. He's 8 years old. He means the world to me. This bill takes control away from me being able to decide what to do with my child. And so it's a very personal thing to me. And I believe this bill it's very detailed and very complicated for a reason. It's to hide the very sinister things that I think are in that bill. And one of them, for example, is a backdoor digital ID for kids. And so, again, my background, I was 15 years old when I was kicked out of home after my father died. It took me a couple of decades to be able to talk about this. But I wouldn't want this recorded and kept for thousands of people to have access to. This is my story to tell, not the government's. And so when I see bills like this, it gives all the power to the government to decide what we do with our children and how, as parents, we must parent. They decide. That bill gives them the power, and that doesn't feel right. And the children's digital ID hidden in that bill is very dangerous and not right.
The government insists there'll be no digital ID for children. Instead, each child will be assigned an identifying number within an online system. Information will be subject to strict data protection laws and only be shared with official safeguarding practitioners to further protect children by helping identify needs earlier. That's so they can keep an eye on every kid and make sure that there's no vulnerable children falling through the cracks, no children who might have suffered trauma earlier in life who drop out of school and the school doesn't know what's happened to them. That's not bad, is it?
Of course it's not. That's great. But that bill won't do that. And we have child welfare services. That's their job. So what, that department's redundant now, is it? We have to create a whole new thing. And if you create a digital ID for kids, that will become digital ID for when you're older too. But thousands of people are going to have access to that data. Thousands of people. So that data can be used against those children. I wouldn't want a record of my youth being kept forever by the government. And then it could be used against me. The
government would say that that data would be encrypted and nobody other than the relevant services would have access to it. But on the homeschooling side of things, parents will still be allowed to homeschool their children, but the local authorities will be able to step in if they think that a vulnerable child is not getting the right education. What's wrong with that?
The way you put it, it sounds good. But in practical reality, like, I homeschool my child because the major school system does not cater to his needs. That's why you have hundreds of thousands of people now homeschooling. And to then have someone that isn't the parent of that child to decide what's good for your child makes no sense. Now, if there is a child who's vulnerable, that's child services job to support and protect that child. But this bill does not do that. It doesn't protect in the way that you're describing it. And so this is a non-parent deciding whether or not your parenting is correct.
How do you know, or how can local services know that you're teaching your child, giving your child an adequate education? And how do you know that you're giving them an adequate education?
I have been a parent for 8 years. I can tell you, I think every single day I'm not doing a good enough job. And so when you ask a question like that, there's not a teacher I've met or a parent I've met that doesn't feel like they could be doing more for their child. But no one loves that child more than me. Nobody. And I would die for him. And so there's nobody on the planet, I believe, that has more passion to ensure he gets what he needs than me and his mother. And so if you genuinely believe that a bill will give a non-parent the power to decide over me what's best for my child, That is madness. We have to trust the voters, right? We have to trust the parents. We trust the parents to vote for a government, but the government take power away from the parent to manage their own kids. So I believe with all my heart that my son is getting a good education. Could it be better? Of course. Am I letting him down by being here interviewing you instead of being at home with him, looking after him now? Maybe. But I'm trying my best, and so is every parent I've ever met. Right? We love our children. I cannot say that for the government.
What would you say the main benefits of homeschooling are?
Homeschooling has so many benefits. It's a very misunderstood thing, actually. Having homeschooled my child now for 2 years, the thing I've discovered the most is that I don't educate my son. I understand what his passions are, what his interests are, and I facilitate his learning. So weirdly right now, he's really passionate about sword fighting. So that's led us to do lots of sword fighting in the garden. All his friends come over and do sword fighting. And lately he's wanted to make swords. We're going into the forest and making swords. And he was asking me about Henry VIII swords and how he paid for them and what were the Henry VIII swords made out of. So we're learning chemistry, we're learning history, we're learning economics, we're learning engineering, all because he's passionate about sword fighting. And that's the thing that's really opened my mind to like education. Modern education is understanding what that child is interested in and following their interests. All I do is facilitate his interests. Honestly, the school system would take credit for my son walking if they could. Right? My son will naturally walk when the right time is. You can't teach someone to walk, you can encourage them to walk. Same with education, in my opinion. My son learns through his passions. I think that's the future of education. With AI, we do have the ability to find out what someone loves doing and just help them do that and learn because they want to learn to do the thing they love.
Will you carry on that attitude of let him learn whatever he wants to learn? I mean, at the age of 8, totally understandable. As he gets older, will you start teaching the curriculum? Will you start teaching maths and science and English as schools do, or will you carry on?
Yeah. He's teaching himself this stuff already. So with ChatGPT, he asks questions all the time. Me, parents, his friends, his other homeschooling kid friends. He's asking questions all the time, literally all the time. And you know, we've got a supercomputer on our phone now. So he asks questions of ChatGPT and then he checks with me if ChatGPT got it right. And so if he was here today, he knows more about planets, planet alignment, mathematics than I do. I left school at 15. I'm dyslexic. My son knows more than me. He literally laughs at me now. And I haven't taught him this stuff. He's self-taught. He's interested because learning isn't a chore. He's not told to sit down and listen to what a teacher's telling him all day. He's able to go out and explore in the real world, figure out what he's interested in, and those passions lead him to learn naturally. And this is the thing. If I pitched school today to you and said 30 kids in a classroom all having to learn the same way, the same thing, we'd think it was madness.
I suppose we have to keep schools in place to make sure that every kid is educated, because some parents wouldn't put in the effort that you put in. But what changes need to be made to the education system to make it work better?
It's a very complicated answer to that question.
Because so, obviously it would be very expensive to make sure every child had a personal tutor.
Well, yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I think AI is potentially a personal tutor. And so if I could take the best teachers and make them AI teachers, you could help a lot of kids get access to that wonderful teaching experience. I don't know why we're not doing this, and the system doesn't want to do it, right? I do believe with all my heart that education as a framework needs an update. You asked a question of like, what would it be? I think it starts at the very beginning of school. When I took my kid to school, 4 years old, before I took him out of school, the first day at school I was allowed to be with him, so were all the parents for the 4-year-olds. And the teacher, who was lovely, this is not teachers' fault by the way, they're stuck in the system. You speak to any teachers, they'll tell you what I'm talking about is true. We're not personalising education to kids, it's a problem. This is teachers saying this to me, not just me having this opinion, right? But what I saw was, he was 4 years old, first day at school, the teacher had all the other 4-year-olds and the parents all there, and the teacher said, okay kids, right, we're going to break the ice, we're going to all talk about what would you like to do when you grow up. Now my 4-year-old looked at me with fear. What he wanted was an answer that's going to make that teacher happy, make the parents in the room smile and laugh. He didn't have an answer ready, because it's actually the wrong question. We shouldn't be asking what will you do when you grow up. We should be asking, what problem do you want to solve? We shouldn't trap young minds into thinking, I'm going to go to university and I'm going to get a job. And so I feel like I better say I'm going to be a lawyer, or I'm going to be a doctor, to make the parents and everyone around me happy. We want kids to stay creative. You know, we want them to have imagination and enjoy the process of learning, not be forced down a certain funnel to go to university, which is a business, go into that business and get a debt, and then come out the end and get a job. Because those jobs won't even exist. By the time my 8-year-old is getting a job, the jobs that university are teaching you to get right now won't even exist.
In university's defence, I went to university and it worked out for me. Eventually managed to get a job in journalism, which probably would have been a lot more difficult had I not gone to university, although there is other options.
You would have 100% made it regardless.
You think?
You got the talent and you care and you're good at this job. So this is survival bias that you have, right? It's normal. But university, I mean, Tesla couldn't get a job at Tesla now. Right? Tesla dropped out of university. So this is the other side of it. It's like we're forcing people to go to university and get into debt.
Do you think qualifications should be scrapped then? Because
no, I wouldn't be that radical.
I managed to get a job in journalism eventually because I had a qualification that could prove that I knew what I was doing. And it would be hard to prove it.
But you
without
prove
the
it by what you're doing here. This is proof. You have the ability. You can't teach this ability. This is something naturally in you, like my son's sword fighting ability. Right? Tesla was a natural genius. You know, like you can't teach Tesla in university. If you actually look at everyone successful, Bill Gates dropped out of university. University didn't teach Bill Gates programming. University didn't teach Bill Gates to make Microsoft work. Right? Maybe if he'd finished university, okay, you could argue it did. I would argue that you would make it anyway, 100%. That's my thing. Now, if university can facilitate your outcome, brilliant. I'm not saying people shouldn't go to university. I'm saying people should have other choices. Right? I want people to have informed consent. That's all.
A bunch of people that haven't gone to university or did go to university and dropped out are the people you mentioned earlier, the million or so people that are not in education, work or training. What advice would you give them? They're stuck in a rut at the minute. What should they do? I
think that for a lot of the people that you were talking about, it's so difficult to give any generic advice.
Of course.
I think each individual case would have to be looked at, but my instinct, without knowing the exact details of everyone's life, is like, there's a lot of negative news, a lot of negative feeling about Britain and life in general, like cost of living crisis, property so expensive, food so expensive. And so I think what's happening is that's causing people a lot of mental health issues. And so I think there would be something really good in like giving people a chance to have agency over their life. So whatever you love to do, let's figure out to put a business model behind it so you can afford to do it. So if you love to make YouTube videos or play video games on Twitch, then all you need to do is put a business model behind it to make a living from it. Now that means if you're not in work and you're not in school, maybe you're a Twitch streamer having a good time, making money online. Maybe you're making YouTube videos about being one of these 1 million people, right? That's fine. I think we have to recognize new careers, okay? News channels are being created on TikTok and Instagram. You know, it's just the way the world's going. So I think we need to help people see that. And then, you know, talent is equally distributed, but opportunity is not. And that's the problem. We need to make opportunity available to everyone. And I think things like social media have allowed people to have opportunity.
Do you worry that you make achieving your dream sound so easy that some people are just guaranteed to be disappointed?
I'm sorry if I've given that impression. I do not think it's easy making your dream happen.
But achievable?
But, of course. Why is it not achievable? I think telling people it's not achievable is a pretty... If university was pitching your degree is unachievable, then no one would go to university, right? So of course, I do believe that your dream is achievable, but you need to put certain things in place. First of all, you need to have a purpose beyond yourself. I'm a big fan of, you know, nurses, right? Nurses go to work, low paid, long hours, right? But nurses generally, I think they've only had one strike in 150 years. So why is that? And they're low paid, long hours, why? Because if they don't go to work, someone dies. If they don't go to work, someone's in pain. Because we're meant to help each other. So I do think you've got to put certain frameworks in place to make your dream a reality. And one of those frameworks, and this is true for me, is the mission is more important than me. I could have been with my son today at home, playing, but I'm here talking about this because it's important. Because if I don't help people, then people are in pain, not following their dream. So I think self-sacrifice is required, and pain is part of life. I actually think you should have pain. and that makes you follow through. So it's not easy following your dream, but frankly, it's not easy working for someone else. There's plenty of people who will be listening right now that have a boss that's rude to them, a boss that won't give them the pay rise they need, that won't let them have the week off they need. You know, it's not easy working for someone else. Nothing's easy. That's the whole point. Life is meant to be a challenge. That's what makes it fun. But at least if you're following your dream, you can have ownership over your own time.
All right, we're nearly done, but I'm going to allow you a little plug. You've written a book, right? Why have you written a book? What's it about?
Well, I'm dyslexic, so writing a book was really hard. But I wrote a book to try and help people before they go to university realise they've got other choices than go to university. I actually wrote it for people before they go to university. I just want them to know they've got other choices. It's not that they have to become an entrepreneur. That's not what I'm selling. I'm saying you've got more choices than just get a job. Make sure you know it. And make sure you're following your passions, not what someone told you to do to look good. Follow your dream. So I wrote that book to try and help people understand what's stopping them, their subconscious bias that's stopping them following their dreams, and then give them a step-by-step guide to follow their dream.
What advice would you give people that are just finishing school, deciding, do I do an apprenticeship, do I go to university, do I go and get a job? What would you say to them? Look,
giving advice to people without context is always scary. I've actually made a video on my YouTube channel, 2 hours, 26 minutes, that goes into the deep answer to this question. But I'll give a generic, general view, which is like, I think work should be fun, right? Work shouldn't be sold as this thing that you're going to have to do one day that will not be fun. Success is those that get up in the morning and enjoy what they do. You enjoy what you do. I can see it. I want that for everybody. And so I would say to anybody young, don't listen to anybody around you. Look inside and say, what is it you like to do? If you like to put up makeup on, then maybe start making content of you putting makeup on. And you'll be surprised, you can make money from it. TikTok these days, there's gifts, there's income, there's video view income, sponsors, whatever you're actually genuinely passionate about. Fishing. If you go live while you're fishing, you can make money. It's like, learn how to put business into your passion. And then you can live the life you want to live. You can fish all day, go live stream and make some money. What are your hobbies? And no one likes this. Oh, you should, my son, again, like around 6, someone said to him, you got to get serious, young man. Like, he's 6 years old. Why are we telling 15, 16-year-olds they've got to get serious? I don't think so. I think if you're still living at home and you can get free rent, your parents, stay there for as long as you can and build something you love so work doesn't feel like work. And money will come your way if you're doing something you love because you can follow through. And that's probably the #1 ingredient for making anything successful, follow through.